Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Bembenek Saborio and I'm co-owner of Go Tico Costa Rica. And we are an organization that provides students with the opportunity to live and immerse themselves in rural communities in Costa Rica through both intercultural exchanges and service trips. And I'm really excited over the next short while to talk to you specifically about high school experiences that we offer, in particular for this upcoming year. So, if you've ever looked online for opportunities to travel abroad, I'm sure Costa Rica has come up more than once. It's a very popular destination. It's a very safe country. It's a beautiful country. And so I think the most important thing to first consider is why would you choose Go Tico as the opportunity to travel abroad as a student? And the first is that really Go Tico operates on a safety first, experience second mentality. And what I mean by that is, first of all, my co-owner is actually my husband, Joel Saborio Gonzalez, and we both have children ourselves, so we know what it's like to think that we would leave our child in someone else's care, in particular in another country. We absolutely understand and respect the importance of the role we are taking on in running student trips to Costa Rica. And so we also know that if students or families don't feel safe, then their experience isn't going to be a worthwhile one. So we establish safety guidelines from the get-go that all chaperones and city coordinators and country coordinators adhere to, and we make sure that the safety protocol is always followed. It's communicated with families that are sending their students on our trips so that everyone is aware of the policies that need to be followed to make sure everyone has first a safe experience and then therefore a fabulous experience while they're in Costa Rica. Secondly, I already alluded to this a bit, but Costa Rica, or Go Tico Costa Rica, has local coordinators on kind of both ends of the travel. So Go Tico is operated out of Madison, Wisconsin. We're based here in Wisconsin. And Joel and I are the primary coordinators here. One of us is always traveling with every student group that we take, sometimes in addition to teachers that are representing the different schools that we work with, also join us. But one of us is always traveling with the students for the entire duration of their trip. We also have local coordinators in the communities in which we work, and those coordinators help us to first scout out and prepare everything ahead of time, and then also to engage with the students when we're down in Costa Rica. Joel and I both have very, very strong and deep ties to the Costa Rican communities in which we work. Joel himself is Costa Rican, as I mentioned, and many of our trips operate as a home base out of his community, La Flor. So it's a lot of extended family and family friends and individuals who we have known for many, many, many years and trust with our own children when we're traveling. I myself have lived also in rural communities in Costa Rica, and we've traveled extensively with student groups. So we're very familiar with the ins and outs of rural travel in the community and in the country. Now, Go Tico also truly provides an authentic travel experience. Costa Rica is very easy to get to. Many people go for different family vacations and different opportunities to experience kind of a touristy, right, vacation. But Go Tico can really provide a student with an opportunity to truly immerse themselves in a culture and in the language. As I mentioned earlier, our home base for most of our trips is a 300-person community that doesn't get tourists. So we are truly the only visitors to this town. And that provides students with really a fabulous experience to see what Costa Rican life is like, the food, the language, the people, what people do on a day-to-day basis. Where do people work in these rural communities? What is school like? And it's really a kind of once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It also provides students, because of the uniqueness of where they're visiting and the fact that it's not a tourist hotspot, students have the opportunity to really engage in these life-changing exchanges with students from other communities and build cross-cultural skills that they're going to need well into the future. So you may know this already if you've visited Costa Rica or if you've heard anything about Costa Rica. It's a fabulous place to visit. It's incredibly safe. It's a wealthy country relative to its neighbors and surrounding areas. So it's a very great destination. Some most recent accolades that Costa Rica has received are that of one of the most beautiful places to visit in the world. It actually was listed as #1 most recently in 2019. National Geographic recently named it as one of the top happiest countries across the globe, primarily due to the fact that there's a lot of social support in the country. Their way of life and kind of quality of life tends to be generally high, and just kind of what they value makes overall the community and the country a very happy one. And then also the UN Environmental Program recently named it as the UN Champion of the Earth for its sustainability and conservation efforts. So it's a great place to visit. Additionally, as we all know, societies are becoming more global, right? So it's important that we are understanding and accepting of people who are different than us and speak different languages and come from different places and have different values and different cultures. And starting as a high school student in truly immersing yourself in that is going to give you a leg up when you have to face that in the real world. Many challenges that we're all facing now and are going to continue to face into the future are global challenges. Something as obvious as climate change is not something that is specific to a region or to a state or to one specific country. And so these challenges that are addressing, that are going to be addressed by the world need to have people working on them who can work with people from around the world. And this kind of an experience gets you doing that as a high school student. Diverse experiences matter, right? We need to be able to work with people who are different than us and have experiences that put us out of our comfort zone and have us tackle obstacles or things that might be challenging at first and teach us that we can do it and that we can overcome hurdles that we might have thought might have been too difficult. And so when we think about going to live in a place that's totally different from where we live now, or speaking a language that's totally different from the one we feel comfortable in conversing in every single day, those are challenges that students go and face these challenges and they get over them and they feel proud that they did it and they want to go back because it was a great experience. And Go Tico is able to provide students with that opportunity. It also, of course, helps students to vary their perspective, and doing so helps us to solve problems. And then also just the opportunity to communicate with people from another country is essential for success in a world in which we're living right now. So let's talk more specifically about our high school experiences and specifically the objectives of a high school trip that Go Tico coordinates. So the first is that we strive for our students to be immersed in a community. Secondly, we want them to provide service to the community or have some sort of intercultural exchange experience. And then also that it's a very strong learning opportunity for them. So let's talk a little bit about the regions in which we'll be living during these trips. So as I mentioned, our home base is always La Flor de Rio Cuarto, which is a 300-person community. It's marked here on the map, so you can see it's about 2 hours north of the international airport that we would arrive to. All of the morning intercultural projects are either in that community, La Flor, at the elementary school, or at Rio Cuarto, which is about a 15-minute drive away. Students always will have organized private transportation to get to the local high school in Rio Cuarto. Afternoons are those regional day excursions I talked about, and all are within about a 45-minute drive of La Flor. And then all evenings involve community activities in La Flor de Rio Cuarto. The picture you see here is actually an aerial photo of Rio Cuarto, and that that lake or laguna you see is Laguna Rio Cuarto, and we do actually spend an afternoon there with some of the high school students that we've been working with. So here talks a little bit more about the itinerary details for a high school trip. So we collaborate with, as I mentioned earlier, Liceo La Amistad, which is it's a high school in Rio Cuarto de Grecia. We arrive after departing from Madison, Wisconsin on day one and head to La Flor and settle into our homestays that first night, do some icebreaker activities to get to know the families that we're living with for the next week. Day two always involves the weekend, which often brings a soccer tournament to La Flor, and nearby communities engage in about a half-day soccer tournament. And we'll work with local community members to make a local food and help sell it at the school in order to fundraise while people are coming for the soccer tournament. Then during the actual week is when we engage in those morning intercultural workshops or service activities. And then we have lunch with the communities we're working in. So if you're at the high school, you'll be having lunch with high school students. If you're working in the elementary school, then you'll be having lunch with your homestay communities. Heading out in the afternoon to our regional excursions. And here's a list of some of those activities that we would be engaging in. So hiking through a rainforest and then swimming in some incredible waterfall pools that feed into the Rio Toro. We'd also be hiking at a biological reserve, which houses the longest suspension bridge in this particular region in Costa Rica. We'd be doing some industry tours, so either a cacao tour or a pineapple tour to learn about what people in this area tend to work in and what makes this area thrive. We'll be swimming in that Laguna Rio Cuarto I showed you earlier, and then also having the opportunity to visit a wildlife reserve. And then each evening, in our home community of La Flor, we will be doing community activities at the school with really any community member who's interested in joining us. And it's usually a lot because they're eager and excited to have us there and doing activities with them. In the evening of our closing night, then we always have a potluck as kind of a send-off and a formal goodbye for the homestays that have been hosting us for the week that we're there. And then we head out on day 8 to fly home. So this upcoming year, we have 3 different high school trip opportunities. The first is March 14th to the 21st, then March 28th to April 4th, and then July 27th to August 4th. All of these trips have the same itinerary, except that the first March trip, March 14th and July 27th, are the groups that will be working with the high school. And March 28th is the group that will be working with the elementary school. So if you have a preference as to whether you're collaborating with high school versus elementary school students, it would be important to know which trip is which. All of the trips require 2 pre-departure meetings. Primarily, this gives all the students who are attending to get to know each other a little bit better. It allows you to also meet either Herwell or I, who will be coordinating and attending the trip with you. And then also it gives us the opportunity to prepare a little bit for the trip that we'll be participating in. So the first trip always involves kids and their families so that we can go over all the logistics, safety information, any sort of paperwork and that sort of thing that we would need to know, reviewing the itinerary and communication structure. And then the second trip is always closer to the actual departure date, and that is to get the students ready for either their service projects or their intercultural workshops that they'll be engaging in. And as far as supervision goes, there is always one coordinator flying from the U.S., as I mentioned earlier, with the students. And then when we arrive in Costa Rica and into our La Flor community, our second country coordinator is going to be meeting up with us and will spend the entire Costa Rican trip with us. So there's always 2 chaperones for every 10 students in Costa Rica, and then 1 chaperone for every 10 students just during the flight. So let's look at the dates and fees for all of the high school trips. The trip itself is $2,800 per student, and that really includes pretty much everything from taking off in Madison to returning to Madison. So it includes the hotel and the homestay, 3 meals per day, flights from Madison to San Jose and returning, of course, Costa Rica exit taxes, all in-country transportation, and excursion and entrance fees for any of the activities we partake in. The only true things that aren't included are travel insurance, and that is a policy we require that students purchase. We can provide a great company that can give you a very simple application process and provide you with extensive insurance that you would need for the trip. And then also spending cash. And really, the trip is set up in a way that there isn't much need for spending cash. So usually $25 to $30 is more than enough for the time we're there. Students are kept so busy, there's not a lot of time for shopping. So that really wraps up all of our information about the high school experience. It truly is an opportunity to travel, learn, and experience in the most authentic way possible. And it is something that I would encourage anyone to reach out to us about. If you have any questions, our website has a great deal of information, as well as our Facebook and Instagram have great photos about previous trips that we've taken, and it'll give you the opportunity to have a glimpse into some of the destinations you would be visiting. But thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on one of the future Go Tico trips.